Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It looks like it's 6 o'clock anyway from here. With the light glare, it's hard to tell.
On the money.
All righty. So, meeting's been called to order. Are there any announcements?
I have one.
Oh, Ann?
Just wanted to let you all know that tomorrow we will have our first library polling place. The Guerneville Library was selected by the Registrar of Voters to be our good site in West County. So the polling inspector will have access to the facility from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. tomorrow. And that's just our first entree into being a polling place. We hope to add more locations.
All right. Anything else? Does that need to move closer to Andy? Okay. Okay, we have a presentation from, may I make a suggestion for the agendas? If there's a person beside the presentation, thank you, or whoever's responsible for it. Okay, so whoever's doing the Guerneville branch. Just for the record, we have a new agenda system along with being in a new place, which I am really glad we're here and I welcome everybody. I hope it works. So we're working the kinks out slowly. Lana and David.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Lana Dlowin, Public Services Division Manager. I'm with my colleague,
Dave Tasheva, Facilities Manager.
and we're going to do a brief presentation on the upcoming improvements planned for the Guerneville Regional Library. We're starting off, if you haven't visited Guerneville in a little while, we thought we'd show you some pictures of what the branch looks like today, so you can kind of visualize where we'll be headed in the future. So this is two pictures. On the left, it's the children's area. You can see there's lots of room for collections, lots of room for media, and many materials in the children's area. On the right, we have a picture of the reading room from one of our alcoves. You can also see that there are many materials in the picture and long pathways across the library floor. Not surprising for a library to have many materials on display. It's what we do, one of our core services. But as you know, libraries are changing and we need to respond to the community. So the updates are looking at expanding our collections and using them in different ways. Oops, sorry, went too far. On the left, you have a picture of our current public computer carrels. So we have a pretty private space for computer users and some classic computer chairs. These chairs are not adjustable in any way. So if someone doesn't fit the space, they have to use the chairs that is given to them. So we do want to look at making that improvement. There are 8 total computers right now at the Guerneville Regional Library. On the right side, this picture is looking at 2 of our alcoves in the current branch. You can see there are pretty static tables, chairs with upholstery on them, and again, a lot of room for collections. In the little alcove on the right-hand side, we have started making some improvements in that area and changes. We're headed to making that our teen space in the branch, as they do not currently have a defined teen space in that location. And then, like many of our other locations, we have 2 existing service desks for staff. On the left-hand side is our circulation desk, where people will check out books, look into things with their account, ask questions about their account. And then on the right, we have a reference desk. So that's where librarians sit and answer reference questions, any other informational question that's a little bit more detailed than what could be answered at our circulation desk. You'll notice that the 2 desks are only separated by one large piece of furniture that holds DVDs for browsing. So the distance between the 2 desks is probably less than
15 feet.
15 feet. Can we zoom in a little bit on this or no? No? Okay. So this is the proposed floor plan for the renovations that we're going to be making. I'm going to start with the floor plan on the right-hand side of the screen. In the children's area, you can see that there are tables for sitting. There are little round dots that are right in front of the door that lead to the exterior courtyard, which is that half moon. Those are little ottomans for little people, for toddlers and preschoolers. They can move those ottomans around as they wish. They can make a snake, a worm. They can be creative with our furniture and also have a place to sit. We have 4 computers for technology in the children's area. This would include a catalog, an early learning station, and computers. And then we also have on the top part of that floor plan on the right, we have parent and child seating, again with more movable ottomans, and then a mobile browsing bin for board books, and then a lower seating, and that will serve our children under the age of 5. What we're hoping to accomplish in this children's area that we don't have currently is really a defined early literacy space. So that would be the top section of the children's area, leading to a more school age or elementary aged section towards the bottom half of the children's area. That's where most of our nonfiction books are, our larger fiction books, so that even for a child between the ages of 0 and 12, they have a defined space to use in the library. We really want that parent engagement in the children's area, which is why we're creating out love seats where parent and child can sit together and read and really enjoy the space and be comfortable. Moving to the middle of the floor plan, you see that we've removed both 2 service desks. We're going down to 1. We think with the amount of square footage of this library, which is between 7,000 and 8,000 square feet, that 1 service desk is sufficient. We've also changed the shape of the service desk, so it's sort of a half moon, where staff can be right front and center when people walk through the door, so they can be looking at who's entering, greet them, welcome them, and answer any questions or direct them to where they need to be in the library. We've made where the former circulation desk is more of a marketplace, we're calling it in some of our plans, so you can get your holds right there and use the self-checkout and go out the door if you're in the hurry. Or we have mobile shelving where we can have the newest books on hold or Lucky Day. It's really going to be the high interest collections for patrons to see when they walk in the door. Heading to the left-hand side of the floor plan, we've kept the remaining 8 computers. We're updating the computer carrels. They will have ergonomic or adjustable chairs, so we can go up or down in the computer station as needed. We've also added some lounge seating. We don't currently have many comfortable seats for patrons to sit in the space for a longer amount of time. So we've added about 8 lounge chairs with desks where they can work on a laptop while sitting in a comfortable chair. We've also added more tables, splitting 4-person tables into 2-person tables so that one person doesn't sit in a 4-person table all day. So we're maximizing the space and the number of seats in the library. And we also created appropriate seating for the teen area. So we have a table that teens can use if they want to do homework with friends, or they can sit in the lounge seating. And most teens like that. They don't like to sit in traditional seating when they've been sitting in that seating all day at school. So they want a place to hang out, be with their friends, have conversations, and we're really carving out that in their space. And I just wanted one quick mention too, we are increasing seating for all age levels, so for children, teen, and adults. And that was one of our goals with this project. This is an example of some of the furniture we're looking at. We haven't made final decisions on that. But again, in sort of mirroring my comments, you see teens have really fun colored seating and comfortable lounge chairs. All the adults will want to sit in those chairs, but we have plenty of other seats for adults in this space. Furniture for children is brightly colored, again flexible, and enough room for parents and children to sit together. We're looking at different updated computer stations for adults, so ones that aren't quite such a barrier and allow a little bit of privacy, but still enough space. Again, all modern and updating the look of the existing furniture. And this is, the architect we're working on the project is Nolan Tam. They're also working on our Petaluma project. This is a 3D rendering that they created for the new library. See that they're really taking advantage of the beautiful beams and the windows and the natural environment that's outside this building. It's one of our most beautiful areas of the county. You can see the lounge chairs there. There will be new carpet throughout the library, and we are updating the color of the tables and chairs to lighten the colors in the existing branch. And this mirrors a picture that I showed you earlier of the evolving teen space. You can see that now it's a clearly defined teen space with appropriate labeling. And next door to it is a periodicals alcove, where again we have lounge chairs, magazines at the ready, newspapers at the ready for the community to really enjoy. It's a picture of the children's area. Again, there's great access to the outdoors right off the children's area. We're updating it with colorful furniture and age-appropriate seating. We're also clearing out some of the fixtures used to house collections and still keeping the same number in the collection, but just creating a more efficient use of the space. And that is our quick update. Funding for this project is through Measure Y and our Welcoming Spaces initiative. There's also great support from the River Friends of the Library. They are funding for some collections for the teen area and also for the teen space remodel. And they've also given us some funding to remodel the staff area. So that's one piece we are still working with on the project. We'll be remodeling their staff work area and their staff break room, again, to update and just refresh the entire space. Any questions?
This looks fabulous. I think that's a wonderful transformation. I had just one particular question. When we did the Northwest branch, one of the things I was so impressed with when that reopened was that drop-down screen in the kids area, and you can kind of move the little couches around and watch the movies. Are you adding that?
We're not adding that to the Guerneville library because Guerneville has a forum room. So we have a lot of the same equipment that's in all of our other branches.
So the kids can go in there and watch.
Yes, and do
Right.
all of their programs.
Barbara, we only did that at Northwest because they have no meeting room.
Okay.
So we needed to find a place where they could do it, and so we hunted around and scrambled, and so that's why it is the way it is at Northwest.
It really turned out cute, though. I really like what
I'm
you
glad you
It
liked
does
it.
work out.
And my last question is, when you're talking about outside access, so can the kids actually walk out these doors and there's an enclosed?
Yeah, so you can see that they've created a brief illustration there.
Yeah.
But if we go back to the floor plan, it's really a wonderful area outside. There's a existing picnic table. The Friends have also given us some funding just to update some of the furniture there. So we might do some nice Adirondack chairs. But it's a beautiful enclosed space.
And do people use it now?
They do, yeah. And we have volunteers that maintain the garden. So there's a lot of different plants.
Super, wonderful.
What's an estimated time for completion? Are we talking a year, 2 years, year and a half?
We've been planning for this for a number of months this year, and we had originally allocated funds last year for this fiscal year. We hope to have the project completed by the middle of August. We will have to close for a brief period of time, but we're hoping to close after the end of summer reading and before school begins. So there's a 2-week period that we think would be essential for that closure.
Maybe I missed it. Did you have a second public meeting, second community meeting?
Thank you.
Okay.
We did have 2 community meetings and several staff meetings as part of this process. Our first community meeting was held on December 21st. And due to community requests, we held a second community meeting on February 8th. Our first community meeting was, we had Nolan Tam, the architects, out there to talk with the public. On the second community meeting, Dave and I led as a community discussion. The architects have also been to the branch 2 times to meet with staff about the workroom and also the main renovations that we're doing.
There was 4 computers there originally, and it seems in the schematic here, or the rendering is 4. Is there any more computers being put in there?
For the children's area,
For all, the whole library?
so we have 8 computers,
Okay.
if you can see in the floor plan, and that's the same number of computers that are
Okay,
currently
so
in the
there's 4 in the kids and 4 general, for the public?
There's 8 for the general public, so
Okay.
teens or adults can use that. In the children's area, that particular configuration, they're not all internet computers. So like I said, they're a public catalog, early learning station, and either 1 or 2 computers.
Okay. Thank you.
And Vicki also wants me to mention, we have hublets there, so we have
Oh,
6 tablets for folks to use.
great.
Any other questions? Andy?
Lon, I think I heard you say this, but the total amount of time that you'll need to close the library, 2 weeks, is that right?
About 2 weeks. We
Wow.
will have to, we're still working out the timing, but we may have to close for 1 additional week, and hopefully in a not a key period. So as part of this upgrade, we're doing, like I mentioned, the carpet in the entire reading room. We're also replacing the carpet in the forum room. So we hope to maybe stagger the improvements in the forum room before we do the full 2-week branch closure. So we're still working out the timing on that one.
That'd be great, thank you.
Barbara?
I did have one more question. Does this branch forum room have any other name besides forum room? And the reason I bring it up is as you've heard me talk about this before, the Roanoke Park Library has the Armando Flores room dedicated to a former city council member, and the reason that there is a new library in Roanoke Park. So it is called the Armando Flores room. And there's been a thing kind of in the library where every meeting room is called a forum room. And I'm just wondering if there are other communities that have named their community room after somebody else, and if so, I just thought I'd bring it up since you mentioned forum room a few times. Does it have a name?
Well, I'll answer it.
It's
It's
not-
like a
not
couple folks
dedicated
are raising their
any-
hand. I believe it's the Maggie Boynton room. I'm not sure if I have the last name correct.
So this
but it
does
is-
have was dedicated to somebody in the
Yes.
community?
Yes. But I can't answer your question about if all of our other rooms
But
are
do-
named forum rooms.
But should we call this the Maggie? Karen?
Sorry. I just want to point out, we have a fundraising official on board, and before we start talking about naming rooms, we really need to have that person in the loop, because nobody should name a room for free. Just saying.
Well, unless it's been going, long, 15 years ago, it's been named that, dedicated that by the city who built the building.
Correct,
so-
I mean, the room may be named already named for a reason, but, and I don't want to speak for the fundraising official, but I would certainly think that we want to have that person advise on that strategy.
Right.
Randall?
The forum room at Windsor was renamed for Anne Marie Murphy, who was a branch manager there ages ago. However, everyone just refers to it as the forum room.
Barbara?
Not to hammer this away, but when we're talking about this particular one, and this obviously was named after a community member at some point in time, should we not incorporate that into our kind of language as we talk about these things, so it doesn't get lost? Instead of calling it the former?
Tom?
Sonoma, 40 years ago, when we built the library, named our foreign room after the chair of the lab and the guy who got everybody together. I'm not sure the sign's still around or anybody refers to it by that, and I'm more than willing to let it lapse if it isn't there, and if we can get somebody who'll give us some money, rename it something else. Because I know his widow's gone and the kids aren't in town, and it's been long enough. So I don't want to pin anybody down.
Deborah?
I would echo that. I think it's wonderful, of course, if the community has named the room after someone who is either still living or the family is still there. But we're going to, and I think when you add a name, you don't add it in perpetuity. And fundraisers tear their hair out when they hear things like that. So anyway, let's
Stephen?
not do that.
Yeah, I actually would disagree with that, and I would follow what Commissioner Schneider had said, that we need to develop some sort of policy on this, because the last thing we need to do is alienate someone, and that forum room does have a specific name. It's sort of embarrassing that we all don't know the name. It starts with Maggie, has a last name, but we should do some research so as to not alienate pillars in respective communities.
Karen?
There probably isn't one, but in the ideal world, when we do these namings, there should be documentation about how long it can stay named and so forth. It's probably lost to the mists of time in this case.
So maybe we need to consider creating a policy around this issue. But that's not for the discussion tonight. So, okay. Any other questions of Lana and Dave? All righty, thank you. First presentation in our room. Okay, are there any public appearances? None that come forward, and is there a lab or a foundation or friends that want to make a presentation? Don't see anybody here. Okay, so we're down to the director's report.
Okay, so the report is in the packet. I hope you have or will take the time to read it, along with all of the management and financial reports that were submitted by staff. They really reflect the incredible range of ways that the administrative staff supports the work of the frontline library staff, from collections to programs to technology to getting people hired and bills paid. It's really a team effort, and each person plays a very vital role. What I would like to do tonight is to take a few minutes to recognize Joanna Kolosov, the Central Library staff, the graphics and marketing staff, for yesterday's wonderful Women's History event. And I have the flyer here. I'll pass it around if you weren't aware of it. It was a panel of women veterans from World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Cold War, Afghanistan, and a currently serving servicewoman. They had just an amazing range of experiences and stories to tell. And I'd also like to thank Commissioner Doyle for moderating, and Commissioner Mackenzie for being there and being so supportive and taking photographs. The room was really packed. It was a blustery Sunday afternoon, and yet people came to hear these stories, which speaks well to the ability of our staff to find something that resonates with the community. The thing that really struck me was that in spite of the really wide-ranging experiences of these women, the one thing they all emphasized was that what they took away from their experience in serving in the military was a sense of order and discipline, both for them personally and for within their units, their work units. So later I was thinking about library service, and if we asked our staff what resonates most with you about working in the library, what would they say? And I'm kind of guessing they would not say order and discipline, although we do love to organize things. We're very good at that. But for me, I think particularly, if you look around this room, if you look at the folks back there, what you see is a group of people who are incredibly talented, incredibly dedicated to what they do. They could go out in the world and be successful at anything, yet they're here. And why are they here? They're here because, I'll go out on a limb and guess that they're here because they believe in what we do as a public library, that what we can accomplish, the power of a public library, is to really change people's lives for the better and to change our communities for the better. So, we support literacy and lifelong learning and access to technology and culture and the ability to bring people together in a way that cements our community and reinforces our democracy. We're the only free, open, welcoming public spaces in the community. So I think that our library staff are what Mr. Rogers would call the helpers. And that's why we are here, not in big business or industry. We have the talent to do great things for Sonoma County. And I'm really looking forward to working with all of our staff and our commissioners and our stakeholders to really create a wonderful strategic plan that's going to guide us for the next few years. So that's my report.
Okay, any questions or thoughts? Stephen?
Thank you for that report. It's on, can't really tell. Okay, thank you for that report. One of the issues that I'm hearing out in the community is the scheduling. Whoever has been the designated scheduling person for the rooms, any of the rooms, it's a new thing, and I would encourage the fact that we somehow put out some information about what the process is, because people are tripping over each other trying to schedule rooms, and then also there's a delay, and it's causing problems, not only with invited speakers, but then also with publications of the various events. So I would just encourage us to look into it and all be knowledgeable, so that when we're asked these questions about, well, we used to be able to schedule the conference room just right there at the branch. Now we have to call somebody at Central. And it just seems to be not clear and creating some unwelcome feelings.
Okay.
So I just want to put that out
I
there. Thank you.
appreciate that input.
Any other comments? Barbara?
Are we commenting about all the reports under?
You can.
Okay, first of all, I love this new agenda. I love the individual reports by the managers. It's so clear and so organized, and we had kind of talked about that before. But this is pretty and lovely, and whoever all is nodding her head, and must be involved in the software. But anyway, I'm really, really impressed, and it's really a big step up, in my humble opinion. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. On page, this is not even really a question, but page 22, I see that we have all our new hires and retirements and resignations. And I was, we're always sorry to lose any of our staff. I did want to say that Catherine Reinhardt, our long-term history and genealogy manager, resignation is a big loss to the library. Of course, we'll wish her well. But I had to look on here, and I guess it's because retirements isn't in bold print. Is that why I can't see her readily? So anyway, I just kind of wanted to point that out because it kind of got lost there a little bit. But anyway, 3 cheers for Catherine Reinhardt and all she's done for the library. I don't have this on. Can you still hear me? Anyway, and I did want to, I had a few other things under the collections manager report. Page what? Page something. Before I get there, the literacy branch report, I wanted to ask, are all our literacy services provided in the city of Santa Rosa?
No.
Can you give me any more information about that?
Their office is in Santa Rosa, in Central Library in Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
But they do
A little louder,
individual,
please.
they do individual meetings and small groups in the other locations as well with the clients.
So how would we know whether literacy services are provided in our branches? Just
Sarah, Lana, do you have any information on that?
Good evening, Commission. Sarah Vantries, Public Services Division Manager. So the way that our adult literacy services program works is that we match learners and tutors around the county, and typically they meet in the library branch that's closest to where the learner lives, that's most convenient. And so basically to say that services are available for any community in Sonoma County. And although it's coordinated centrally, again, it's really a program that's meant to help the learners succeed and meet them where they're at and in the time frame and the location that works. And so you may not know it, but that good work is happening every day, and probably, I don't know about all of our branches every day, but definitely all of our branches, every week or every month.
so if someone were to come in one of the libraries and say, I need help, are they routed to Santa Rosa to kind of get set up and everything, or?
Yeah, they would, staff would probably help them make that phone call or give them, one of the flyers as you see here so that the learner could reach out and, that's a big step for folks to come into a library and say, I struggle with reading and writing. And so our staff in Santa Rosa, whether they're answering the phone or helping people in person, are, very sensitive to that and celebrate that and help get the learner matched with a good tutor as soon as possible.
As close to home as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, and of course, we want it to be convenient for the volunteer tutors as well.
Thank you for that, Sarah. I also, under the collections thing on page 39, I was intrigued by the staff response to the staff could not live without the following resources. And also, that was in the second column. And then also, I think it's wonderful that there's a Spanish book fair that we don't have to go across the border to go to. And I hadn't realized that because I thought we always had to go. It was normally in Mexico, right? And so this one is in Mountain View. And did you want to make any comments about that, Jamie, about what happens at the annual book fair? I think there's been a lot of interest in our, especially our Spanish collection we have in Roanoke Park. And
Sure. Jamie Anderson, Collection Services Division Manager. Good evening. So this is a North Bay fair that occurs every year. And as I mentioned in the written report, the real draw is to have a hands-on experience with the collection and being able to open the books, see the bindings, see how the translations are handled, et cetera, and make a decision about whether we want to purchase it. And again, without having to make the travel and the trip.
how many books do we buy at a book fair?
I don't have that information with me, but there were, at this particular fair in Mountain View, I think there were 8 to 10 major publishers represented. And when Christina came back from the fair, she didn't actually make purchases at the fair. She made notations and decisions about what she wanted to purchase, and then came back with all of that information. And then we actually created the purchase orders and made the selections and submitted the orders. So she did come back from that and definitely submitted at least 5 purchase orders so far.
So how would do you have an estimate on how much our Spanish, especially our Spanish collection is increasing?
The size of the collection?
Yeah.
Based on the purchases at this?
I don't know,
Or
just in general. I mean, I obviously there's a lot of interest in Spanish language books and materials, and I know we continue to add to our collection, right?
We do.
Perhaps we can have a report at a later meeting.
We are.
No, another meeting.
Another meeting.
If you want like a more in-depth analysis or, summary of our Spanish collection, is that kind of what you're asking for?
Yeah, I think so.
The number of titles, number of copies, usage.
And circulation, and yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for the suggestion, Deborah. Stephen?
But thank you for the report, and I was especially heartened on page 28, the ongoing discussion about partnerships. And a couple of things, when we're talking about the 3 hardest demographics to try to do outreach to around voting, the Latinx community, as Commissioner Mackenzie just pointed out, is obviously a high priority. The senior citizens, what I'm hearing from elected officials and the lobbyists that I work with through the Nurse Family Partnership is that they're all concerned about our unhoused, our unsheltered. So I'm wanting to know what we're doing to specifically reach out to them so that we can provide assistance to the Department of Public Health and Mental Health as they continue to do their jobs and therefore make our elected jobs easier. And then also, I did mention the nurse-family partnership. So for the outreach to those with 0 to 5 children, they would be a really great person and agency to reach out to, and they are incorporated under the Department of Public Health. So those are just my comments around partnerships for that section. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, thank you. I do have a question. Typically, we have a financial report, the CFO gives a financial report. Is that still, because I don't see her here today is why I'm
She
asking.
is out sick today.
Oh, so we're not getting that today? Is that the deal?
Randall, can, Commissioner,
Okay.
the information is in here, but.
Yeah.
I'm-
I just didn't
and
know if there was anything that we should know, if there were any highlights or.
Commissioner Neff, would you like to cover that part?
Well, the interesting thing is there's no rent for this facility was logged during the month, so it's not on the list. It's not like we got a free month, it just didn't happen to get logged. Other than that, all the things look pretty normal. No big surprises here. We still have the Excel error on page 46, but that'll get fixed someday. And all looks really good.
Okay.
I would hypothesize we may have a measure-wise surplus this year.
Good, okay. And I was glad to see in the list of people that are coming on board and stuff that we're getting some people in the accounting department.
Could you say that again? And could people speak up?
Yes.
I know we have
Please.
a
Okay.
mic, but this is a very difficult room.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
No.
not just you, it's not just you, it's everybody.
Could everybody, including the library staff, please speak more loudly?
Okay.
Thank you.
Usually people are telling me to shush. Okay. Okay.
One more.
This is an area we have to look out to in the census for the deaf people.
Oh. I'll repeat my comment. I was just happy to see in the hiring that new people in the accounting department are coming in, because I know that Jody has been struggling. I mean, not only is it a learning curve because she's new to the position, but her staff, due to a number of reasons, was pretty much decimated. So, anyway, Randall.
One more thing is we always have an annual audit, and it's mostly complete, but because of the staffing issues, it's been delayed, and they should be finishing it in April with a draft report to the commission at the May meeting, is the current schedule for the audit. I'd like to have the audit done before the end of this year, because otherwise it's.
Okay. Thank you, Randall. I was wondering about that the other day myself, so. Okay, anything, Barbara?
Just a quick comment, referring to page 45 of the financial report. We do, you can tell under expected revenue that we normally expect $1,000 a month, $1 million a month under our sales tax fund, and we're at 5.4. So the explanation in the past has been the fires, the impact on the fires and the sales tax, but it is less than we would expect to be at this point.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, moving on. Commission reports. Start with the chair. One of the things that I want to comment on is, 3 years ago, something like that, the Friends Foundation President's Council was organized and started up in order to pull the Friends groups together and get people talking. And I've got to say, I've been to a few of those meetings, and every one of them has really been amazing because of what I walked away with by listening to them talk to each other. And this time it was, what do the Friends spend their money on? And it was really interesting to hear the variety and the ideas, and then watch one group say, oh, that's a good idea, well, maybe we could do that with her. And you could see them begin to take in. So it's a really good group for exchanging information. And I just want everybody to know how much I appreciate it, and how much I have learned, and I'm sure that the friends are learning even more. Also want to say that I'm sad to have Catherine Reinhardt leaving. However, I hope that she enjoys being a historian, because that's what she said she was on her way to do. So I'm very happy for her. And finally, I don't know, I'm just going to throw it out there for people. Porterville Library was set on fire, and it burned down because of two young boys, I guess, who decided to have some fun, and it got out of control. I'm not quite sure what the deal is. But if there's anything we can do to reach out and help libraries that experience things like this, and I know we do, and I know we think about it, but again, here's another one that needs support, help, if nothing else, you know, hey, what can we do, even if it turns out to be nothing. But I just want to recognize the fact that that's something that I see libraries do with each other, and I want to encourage it and keep it going. So, okay.
Please remember to turn your mics on before you speak.
It is on.
Just everybody.
Oh, okay. Barbara.
Could I ask you, do you have any thoughts about something we could do, even if it's in a symbolic way, to support the Porterville Library folks?
Well, I doubt if at this point it's to send some books. I don't think that's probably the idea, but I don't know, is there a way that maybe the Friends could round up some money and give them some financial support? Or, I don't know. I don't know. Deborah.
When I went to Washington for a fly-in to talk to the legislators, one of the people that came with the California contingent was from Porterville. Vicky Cervantes, who is the library director in Porterville, and I went to library school together. And so when we got home the next day, I think 2 days later, the building burned down, the building caught on fire. And Alan called me and said that he could see the smoke from his office. Vicky is accepting because everybody wants to help, but there is no organized way to provide assistance. We learned when Paradise happened, there's no real organized state way to necessarily to give aid. There's no national way to give aid either. And so just today, the state library announced that they were making some funds available for libraries that either have gone through some difficulties or have been damaged or something like that. And then I'm the legislative chair for United for Libraries, which is the Friends and Foundation organization, part of the American Library Association. And we're going to try to persuade some funders to put together a national program, because there is nothing. There just doesn't seem to be anything, even though we talk about it, you know, and there is no national library system in this country. So things usually get done nationally through the American Library Association, which is a membership organization of librarians and related associates, but it's not the same thing. So I think that we're also aware of climate change activities, and it's going to happen more. It's going to happen. This was arson, and this was two stupid teenagers.
Males.
Male.
Sure.
That's right.
Yes, they were.
That is so true. But it's not just going to be the teenagers. It's going to be the fire that comes out of the hills. And so I think at the national level, we have to talk about it, and also at the state level, we have to talk about it too. So Vicki doesn't want books particularly, but friends like to send books or like to send checks for books. And so she's willing to accept that. But the saddest story, I think, was that her daughter's Girl Scout cookies were in the library. Right? And so the cookies burned up. So Vicky's friends, I know it's not funny, but it's just such a, and she was concerned about her daughter, in addition, of course, to the entire community and all of the records that, I mean, Porterville was also founded, the woman who helped found the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library, her father founded the library in Porterville 120 years ago. So it's, it's just very, very interesting. And it's not part of a larger system. So Vicki has been running this library all by herself and with, of course, cooperative help from other libraries. But so she's trying to provide ways for everybody to make a difference here. But I think if we could get money, she would love money, frankly. Books are just lovely, but money is better.
What's needed, yeah. I didn't think books would be, if you don't have
And
a
so,
building to put them in.
and I can make sure that I get a bank account or something. And then I'm sure it's going to be, they're probably going to be doing it through the cooperative down there, the cooperative that her
We're
library
talking to
belongs to.
Bruce Robinson, and who's the president
Yeah.
of the Friends and
Yeah.
president of that, but that might be a way to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, David.
This may be a dumb question. Was their collection insured and were their facilities insured?
No idea.
Follow-up question, is our stuff insured?
And,
The jurisdictions.
Yes.
yes, okay.
I-
Loud enough so it's on the TVs. Yes.
Our facilities and our equipment are insured. I'm pretty sure our collections are insured. Are they, Jamie?
I don't know.
Well, I'd
We'll find
appreciate
out. We'll
the
find out.
follow-up on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would it be okay if I say something?
Yes.
Because I remember in the 2017 fires, we actually received some compensation from our insurance company as well as the state library for smoke damaged materials that patrons had checked out and were in their homes. So my guess is that our insurance company covered those even though they were in the homes of people who checked them out. And then again, we received compensation from the state library, from an emergency fund of some kind.
Okay. Barbara?
Just on the facilities part, facilities are owned by the jurisdictions, at least the ones that are owned by the jurisdictions. The jurisdictions are required to have insurance as per our bylaws and the lease provisions, so. I don't know about, I'm sure that the building that we own, which is the History and Genealogy Library, is insured. I mean, I can't say that I'm sure, but
Would assume as much.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
what about renter's insurance for this facility? Just adding to the list, okay?
Good point. Good point.
Can I say one more thing?
So it's okay, go ahead.
Regarding sending donations for Porterville, I think private donations are absolutely lovely. It's a great idea. I'd like to support that. Asking our friends to send friends money, that gets a little iffy. So they would definitely need to check their bylaws to see if that's allowable.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, I just thought that we could figure out some ways to help that would be, because like Deborah said, this is not going to be an anomaly.
So a news article from right after the fire, the Porterville city manager said that the library is covered and that the policy covered the library's replacement value. Sorry, I'm having a little sore throat. That said, I'm sure that no insurance ever covers everything and that private donations will be welcome at some point when they let us know.
Okay. Paul?
Well, the other thing, and we've all experienced, is 2 firemen died
Yeah.
protecting the library. And I don't want that to be lost in the discussion. I mean, it's sad the cookies were, I know. But and I'm just thinking some recognition from the library that 2 of the firemen down there died protecting the library is is something, because we're going to have to thank a lot of firemen protecting our libraries, and they have in the past, and they will. So some acknowledgement of that, I think, would be appropriate.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner reports. Do you want to start, Randall?
No report from Windsor this month.
Okay, Paul?
Well, my report is Randall and I did our sexual abuse training in Windsor last Thursday, and it was well. I'll say it for you. It was through Windsor and the staff down there, and it was well done, and I'm glad we were there, and it was. So we're all certified up for 2 years. Is it 2 years now? Okay. So that's my report.
All righty, Deborah?
My report's in the packet, and just to follow up on the comment about the trip to Washington, I met with staff in Senator Feinstein's office, Senator Harris' office, Speaker Pelosi's office, Mr. McCarthy's office, Roy Malala's office, and Barbara Lee's office. And uniformly, they were supportive of libraries. And we arrived the day after the president's budget was released that eliminated funding for the National Library organization in Washington. And all of them said, yes, well, that's nice, but. So whether they were Democrats or Republicans, we were delighted to hear that.
Good.
No
Thank you.
report.
Andy?
My report's in the packet, nothing to add, thank you.
Okay. Stephen?
Apologies for not getting a report in there. In addition to the regular meetings, attended Ann's visit to our branch, which was great and very well received. Before that, we had our lab meeting, and just a sort of encouragement for all of my fellow commissioners and all the great work that you do with your respective municipalities, it's always great to just provide that education, because with our council member who is the liaison to our lab, she did not know about the great work that y'all are doing in Windsor. She did not know about all the great work that y'all are doing in Healdsburg, in the fact that you guys are beyond like where most municipalities, including Sebastopol, are as far as redevelopment of your land to incorporate a multi-use building. And it was great that Lana was there as well, because when I had said that because these other municipalities are stepping up, it'd be really great if she and her fellow council members could also provide a plan for Sebastopol to increase its square footage. There was a question of, well, it seems like you're shifting responsibilities onto the municipality to come up with the capital funding to increase the size of the building. Lana had a great response in the fact that basically, no, it's not a reshifting. This is the way it's always been under the JPA. So it was a good educational thing, wherein then she just disclosed that she has a 2030 vision to redevelop our 2 square blocks, which the Lantern folks had identified, which is the library, the senior center, and she also mentioned a little bit else. So I say that just in the fact of sharing our good things that are happening is very instrumental and provides leverage, sometimes much needed leverage for other municipalities to hear what others are doing, because none wants to be behind the 8 ball. So I thought it was just a very educational time, because the lab preceded Ann's presentation. So it was a great learning experience on many levels. There you go.
Hey, Karen.
So my report's in the packet. I was wondering, could I ask, is there a particular order that the commissioner reports are put in the packet? Because I didn't know if it was by area or, because it's not by last name. Just a suggestion. And I'll save everything else for the Roseland report.
David?
My report's in the packet.
Barbara?
My report's in the packet on starting on page 55. This was an extraordinarily busy month. I was running around hither and yon, and there was so much going on. It was just a great month for the library. I want to point out the January 31st, the Distinguished Speaker event at Petaluma Library. Tommy Orange was in conversation with Greg Saris. The room was packed. There were about 400 people in there. Shortly thereafter, let's see, where's the Lisa C. one? The Lisa C. event was on February the 5th, another distinguished speaker thing. Over 300 people in the library about that one. The staff also put together a really lovely reception beforehand. We got to actually meet and talk with Lisa C. And they invited the friends in the lab, the commissioners, and it was just a great, educational thing. It was wonderful to actually meet one of these really impressive authors. And so anyway, and I want to point out how what the staff has to do to make these things happen collectively. A lot of staff involved in these, but the libraries are open. And they're trying to create this big meeting space with 300 and 400 people coming in and setting up the chairs and the microphones and all the stuff. It's really impressive. And I want to, commend everybody for the Petaluma part of that. The LumaCon, which ended up on my report this year, this just because of the cutoff dates. But anyway, LumaCon and that Tommy Orange event were in the same week. And so I really want to commend, Joe Cochran and his staff, for all of the work. I mean, just 2 gigantic events in 1 week. Though in Sonoma, just pulling that event off and the special reception, everything, it's just, it's just so wonderful to be a part of the library. And all I have to do is show up and everybody's doing all this great work. On February February 4th, the Overdrive folks came out of Ohio in the semi truck. It was just gigantic. And of all the libraries in all the world, and I don't know why, so I'm sure someone knows why, it was parked in the Rohnert Park Library parking lot. And you could go inside this huge semi thing, and they had all the electronics set up, and you could go in and find out how to use all of the electronic resources that are provided through, I'm saying Overdrive, is that right? Yeah, Overdrive. Anyway, it was just, it was just so impressive. I put some pictures here. They're on the top of page 57 of this bookmobile. It was just incredible. The mayors and council members meeting was really good. It was in Sonoma. Several of us were there. The LoCN is such an impressive organization, and they're putting on, as far as I can tell, pretty much a meeting a month. So I've been going to pretty much every meeting, and there was an excellent one. Ann was there when they had all the supervisor candidates there. It was really interesting. Great opportunity for networking, isn't it? I mean, they're just people from just all walks of life there. And I just signed up for the next one coming up, and it's about economic development. And so that should be fun later this month. But anyway, it's all happened at the library, and thrilled to be part of it, and thank everybody for all the work involved in putting all these things together. Appreciate it.
Okay, did you have? Yeah, I just wanted to add on, I'm very sorry that I spaced out this wonderful, wonderful Women Veterans Program, which was so close to my house and at a time when I could have attended, and I was just weeding.
Yes.
So.
I didn't do much this last month. I had a thing I needed to deal with personally. But I do want to say, in answer to Karen's comment about the thing, I personally, it's on.
Louder.
Louder, okay, sorry. I like the chair to come first and my report to come last. Chair to come first and commissioner report to come last. That's the only thing. In between, I just go around the table. But I don't know if there should be some order to it or not. So anyway, okay, moving on to the committees. First committee is Director's Evaluation Committee. Again, due to the personal issues I had to deal with, some of our work was delayed, and we're going to be finalizing the report middle of this month, and hopefully we'll get it. No, we'll have it for people by April. So other than that, we'll move on to, what's the next one? Finance. Randall.
I covered most of the issues in the finance report. As I said, the audit is coming. And Have we decided on when the budget workshop is going to be? Is that going to be Saturday, or is it, it's definitely Saturday? Okay.
Saturday, the 28th.
March 28th. Oh,
Oh, okay.
oh, that's right, we have to accept it tonight. Okay,
And the next meeting is Monday, March the 16th at headquarters here.
Finance Committee.
the Finance Committee, okay. Thinking, wait a minute, that's all right. Okay, moving on, Advocacy Committee.
The report is in the packet. I would like to point out that we had a conversation about how active and engaged we can be in terms of legislation and in terms of communicating with staff at the state and at the national level. And when we were in Washington, they told us that if they got a telephone call or a letter from 30 people about a specific issue, 30 people, that made a difference at the national level. And I know that it certainly makes a difference at the state level. And so we're going to be moving forward to support the Institute of Museum and Library Services funding, all those things, and may have some state things that we want people to support. So think about who you might want to, I mean, if we all wrote a letter, and if the staff wrote a letter, and if it doesn't take much, but, and so on and so on. We just need to start building that that ability to instantly come to the point where we can let people know that it's time to send a letter and this is what you need to say. So that's what I think advocacy is going to try to think about that and make it easy for people to do that.
Tom?
I'd like to broaden that to our local city council supervisors. We have a Santa Rosa City Council. We're talking about getting more money out of them. There've got to be 130 people in each district that we could get to write to their city council member. If we have the Board of Supervisors, we should be doing the same thing. And we should be able to get a lot of people out for that, between the Friends and the labs and just people who come in and like the library. And I think that's something we need to really work on. Thank you.
Barbara?
Yes, I was going to second that in the sense that one of the line items here is reminder to invite legislators and staff, legislators and staff at all levels to tour branches. And I think that that's really that important one-on-one. And I think we need some sort of strategy for this, or rather than just whether, I would ask the Roanoke Park City Council to come over. But I mean, if we have some sort of strategy and we can follow a general guideline about it, I think it's a great idea. And secondly, I wanted to thank you and the committee for the update on the Measure Y and the meeting with Terry Price. I thought there was a lot of good information in there. So thank you all who are involved in that, including Ray.
Okay. Could we create a list that we could hold and maybe call people when we need them to write a letter? I don't know. What's your thought? Well, yeah, I mean, you'd have to have the relationships before the list, but
We should have a list. Do we have a list? No, we don't.
yeah. But, yeah,
Sonoma has a friends list, has a lab list.
yeah,
We've got to have 150 people in Sonoma on our email list.
yeah, okay. Good. Okay, moving on to the Foundation Liaison. Tom, Foundation Liaison, we're shifting.
No meeting this month.
Okay. Has there been any word back?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Okay, Measure Y, Randall.
The meeting is tomorrow at 1:30 at the Central Library Forum Room, Boardroom, tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Roseland Coalition, Karen.
It's been a good couple of months. January 17th, David And I attended the Roseland Coalition, Roseland Working Group, which is the coalition and staff and others. That was a good meeting. February 25th, Ann, Lana, and I attended a budget session as part of a city council meeting. We all, was Lana there? No, Ann and I. Ann and I both presented, and that was well received. And today, Ann, Lana, and I met with Tom Schwedhelm, the mayor of Santa Rosa, and he seemed very receptive. And Lana presented him with a lovely packet with crisp, clear plans and pictures, and he seemed really interested and engaged, and that was really exciting. Other things that have happened, David just informed me at the beginning of the meeting that it sounds like we will have an issuance of a building permit to start the construction around April 20th. Did that come from Dave? Projected, strictly projected. A lot of things could happen. And these were from documents that were submitted in February. And it would be some months before construction was completed, and we don't really want to tack a time onto that except to hopefully before Labor Day, right? If all goes well. So it's looking good in all directions for Roseland. You want to kick in on anything?
No, you covered it all.
Okay.
Okay.
Questions?
Any questions? Barbara?
I just want to thank you, everybody who's involved in getting these budget discussions brought up in the public eye and at the budget meetings and meeting with the elected officials. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
What happens next, budget-wise with the city, is that their council has had its required public hearing on goals. This month, there are a couple of council goal-setting meetings where they discuss their goals. And there are a variety of other meetings and proceedings. And finally, their budget is scheduled to be adopted sometime in late June for the fiscal year beginning July 1st. But we're being very active in advocating.
Okay, good. Deborah?
Where would we go to look at the report or to look at the presentation? Should we go to I'm sorry?
The best case would be to go to the city's website
Okay,
and
that was
look
the
on
question.
Granicus.
Okay, anything else? Okay, SOPs. Karen?
I have no action this month.
All righty, bylaws. Tom?
We have a product which we're going to hopefully present at our next meeting for a vote, we hope.
Okay, and the training, no report, and ad hoc all-day lab committee, no report. Okay, moving on to Library Advisory Board appointments. The first one is a Sebastopol one, so Stephen, if you would read the motion or present
Yes,
the motion.
I move, is that green? It's hard for me to tell.
Green,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
green.
I move by resolution that the Sonoma County Library Commission appoint the following applicants to the team as listed: Lillian Sanders, Stephanie Elliott, and Una Hall to advisory positions on the Sebastopol Library Advisory Board for terms ending on June 30th, 2024.
I'll second that. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Oh. Barbara? And again, this is just something that we had talked about once before and had started to do, and I know with this change in the agenda, it may have affected it, but we were going to appoint each member individually for a city instead of bunch them all together. So just next time this comes up, we'll separate them out.
Why?
Because that's what we decided back a few times ago, is to do them individually. I mean, if you want to do them all together, that's fine with me. Yeah,
So Noah is listed individually.
that's because he's only one. He's a different, he's for Santa Rosa.
Okay,
But-
bring it together from the one city.
Yeah, and we had talked about it, and it was decided, I had thought, if my memory serves me, that we would do each one to recognize each person individually for the work they're doing. So, yeah. Anyway, these are the kinks we have to work out with this new agenda and stuff. Okay, Deborah.
Is there any way that we could get resumes from the people who are joining the library advisory boards? I don't know what the procedure has been in the past, but I think that as we move forward, and I think that at least asking them for a resume or a brief bio or something like that.
Resumes are submitted with the application, which goes to the commissioner who controls that area.
Gotcha.
And before that, the vital step is it's cleared by the branch manager.
Yeah.
I never bring any motion on behalf of anyone, even if I've spoken to them, if it's not been cleared by the branch manager.
Yeah.
Meaning the fact that they know this, they can attest to the fact that they'll show up, they know, competent, et cetera. So that's the important part for me anyway.
Well, and I was just thinking that as we have connections to people, it would be lovely for the rest of us to kind of know, but
Yeah, the process is the application goes to the branch manager along with a resume. Then he interviews that person, and if it seems okay to him, he passes it on to the commissioner, who gets a copy of all that stuff, and they interview the person. Yeah?
In Sonoma, we have a joint interview where the
Okay.
manager and I both interview together.
Okay.
my point, though, is that as we move forward, it would be wonderful
No
if we
capacity.
knew who else is out there supporting the library. So I don't think that this is a question of blackballing anybody or saying, oh my God, we
No.
don't want that person on, but it would be lovely to get to know the backgrounds of the people who are
Yeah.
joining, just as an information, that's all.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? Barbara?
Well, one thing we could do, I don't know if we want to put the whole application on here, but certainly the commissioner who has gone through this process and interviewed the person could certainly make a few statements about something specific there, what they've done, and includes, because I agree with you, it is good for all of us to know, because we'll meet these people. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, okay. Sorry, I have to write this down or I will forget. Okay, Santa Rosa. David, do you want to read it? Oh, Karen, okay.
I move by resolution that the Sonoma County Library Commission appoint the following applicant to the term as listed. Noah Harris to an advisory position on the Santa Rosa Library Advisory Board for a term ending on June 30th, 2024.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, okay, Karen read it and David seconded it? Yeah. Sorry, Jane. Okay, it sounded like everybody said aye. Okay, anybody opposed? All righty, passed unanimously. Sorry about that, Jane. Okay, we are at the consent calendar. Yes, Barbara?
Before we adopt the consent, sorry, could I just ask a question about the minutes?
Sure.
Rather than pull them off. I noticed that we don't have, we have commissioners present, but we don't have commissioners not present. And I thought we used to do that.
Should have it.
I think we should have it also. That'd be on page 71 there at the top.
Yeah, there are 10 there, and was,
Absent is Jason Merrick, who resigned.
Right, but he was still a member, I believe, at the time. He resigned.
I thought he resigned before the meeting.
I think he resigned before the meeting. Yeah, I think he did,
Okay,
but yes.
so in the future, we will have the absence.
We can just put in Katati vacant. Yeah, okay?
The reason I'm bringing up, in the future, we should have absentee because we have a requirement in the bylaws that if you miss 3 meetings, unexcused.
Yeah, I think that previously they have done that,
Yeah,
but
just
I'd have to
something I saw.
double check that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or, okay. So all those somebody need to move accepting the consent calendar? Tom?
I move that the Sonoma County Library Commission approve the revised commission meeting, oh no. The minutes. I'm ahead of myself.
It's the consent calendar. It's the whole, all 3 of them.
The consent calendar.
Okay. So, and Deborah Doyle seconded it. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All righty. So we're moving on to the full-time confidential HR analyst to the Human Resources Department. I'm assuming that's Suzanne.
Good evening, Commissioners. Suzanne Silva, Human Resources Manager.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said, good evening, Commissioners. Suzanne Silva, Human Resources Manager. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gone.
Louder.
Shout, Joe. It's all right.
Okay, speak up.
We're working all these things out, okay?
Sure.
All righty, proceed.
Sometimes you don't need me to explain. Basically, we have the HR specialist in the Human Resources Department is retiring on May 1st. And given some of the review of the department needs and actions that are going to be occurring in the department, I have decided that it would be better to have an analyst so that the functions can be fully cross-trained. There's been some difficulty having the staff do the work of each other because one doesn't know exactly what the other's doing. One can't do the same level because one's exempt, one's not exempt, one's covered by the bargaining agreement, the other person is not, and this has caused some problems. So with that person leaving, I'd like to be able to reorganize the position. The union is fine with it, and should we go to Sunday hours, I would then hire the HR specialist. And
Tom?
I move that the Sonoma County Library Commission adopt the recommendation to add 1 full-time equivalent confidential human resources analyst to the HR department.
I second.
All right, so Tom moved, Paul seconded.
Discussion?
Yes, Barbara.
Yeah, I just had a question about the last paragraph on page 81. While the existing HR specialist incumbent vacates the position, it will still remain an authorized position, however, will be unfunded until the library increases its hours.
What you just said.
Yeah, but what does that mean exactly? Like any increase in hours or, I don't,
well, what I stated just now is when the library increases its hours, meaning when we open for Sunday hours or additional hours, not like 1 hour and then I'd want to fund the
Okay.
position.
okay. Sorry, I wasn't dialed in because I was changing the date of the finance committee meeting.
That's okay. I'd like to be able to have it for extra help so that, contingent hiring fluctuations,
Okay.
but not to be able to fund it for, a position, permanent position.
Ongoing, great.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry for my misunderstanding.
No problem.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay, so there are no action items by resolutions. There's nothing for discussion. So we will go into a closed session and a conference with the legal counsel for some existing litigation. And we will meet down at the other end of the building in conference room 2. One of these down.
I think it's good where I
Sorry. That's such a hike, and I'm so out of condition now. Report on the closed session. Direction was given to council, and they will be moving forward with our direction. Okay. I do a lot of stuff. That's page. Okay. Any agenda items for the next commission meeting or for future commission meetings?
I would still like to know what we're doing with our lab and the follow-up with that, whether we're having another meeting. I think this is now my third request to have some status of what we're doing with these labs. So follow up to the holiday lab meeting.
Months ago.
Yeah.
Which everybody's forgotten.
Yeah,
Well, some have. If you attend your lab meetings, some have really not, and they're looking at me like as in, and when are we doing that? And I'm like, we're working on it.
okay. Anything else? Barbara?
I talked to Ray about this afternoon, but kind of in a general sense, is there a better way, or is there a possible way of kind of notifying all the commissioners about kind of things that are going on that they might want to go to, attend a library events or distinguished speaker, that kind of stuff. I kind of find about things on Facebook, and then I like in the different branches, see posters, but that's kind of how I know about it. So, I think it's always great. Deb and Ann were both, wonderful down there at Central Branch, but I wouldn't have known about it except I saw it on Facebook at the last minute.
Well, the library has excuse me for interrupting, the library has a very robust calendar of events. And if you get on the web page, you can see what's going on moment by moment by moment. If you happen to be in the branch, like in Roner Park, in two different areas, there is a flat panel display that has it all up there as an advertisement. So I would argue that if you just took a quick look at the web page, and the new calendar of events is going to be going live on March the 4th. And so I think you'll enjoy the new look and feel of that. It's a little bit different than the product we're running right now, but I think it's a great way. Plus all forms of social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's all up there too.
Karen?
I would like to see an update on the strategic plan, and particularly a report out on the branch open houses.
Yes, we'll definitely get that.
And I would note that when I try to go to this link that's at the bottom of the page, I get a user account prompt, and I don't actually pull up anything that's related to the new strategic plan.
Okay.
So it's a bad link somehow.
Okay. Anything else, anybody? Okay. Okay, with that, next meeting is a budget workshop, March 28th, 9 a.m. here. And
Are we supposed to be voting on something?
No.
That was in the consent calendar. I thought so too.
Oh, sorry.
Link, you miss it.
yeah, we did the consent calendar, which means we accepted that as the date. So now I can announce it as the date. Okay. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting, and I will see you March 28th, if not before.
Thank you.
We're getting so fast.
I'm trying.